This program is brought to you by Grand Valley State University.
What technologies are you currently using to help facilitate your online classes?
Some of the technologies that I really enjoy using in my online courses help me to build community in those classes and to really develop my online instructor presence in the courses. And so I like to use Wimba voice authoring to do announcements. I will also use Wimba voice authoring to provide audio feedback to students on their assignments. I like to use the screencasting and Camtasia tools to create tutorials for my students and to walk them through assignments. I will also use Blackboard IM to communicate with students during virtual office hours. And those are just some of the tools that I really enjoy using.
Okay, so what technologies have you found then to be the most effective at engaging your students and actively getting them involved then in their coursework?
I think one of the most important things to do in an online course setting is to build community with your students right away at the beginning of the semester. And so I post a welcome video that is taken of me where I just talk about myself a little bit and some of my interests. They get a visual to go with all of the text information that they get from me in the courses. And so that's one of the things that I think is beneficial. I also, in creating that community, I think that in my presence online, I think that helps keep the students engaged. And one of the other things that I do for them to be engaged with each other is that I have a teacher's lounge in my class where students can go into the discussion board and a specific forum, and they can interact with each other very informally, not in sort of the workings of the course, but they can go in and communicate with one another that way. I also use the wiki tool for students to be able to work on a group project together. They never have to get together face to face because many of my students are located at distant sites, and so they can use the wiki tool to collaborate on a group project. We also use the discussion board tool sometimes as a sort of a show and tell, where I'll have students post assignments that they've done that they can share with each other, and they really seem to learn from each other this way. But I really feel like it's important to build community in the course, and when you build community, then students know that you are engaged in the course, and I think that really helps them to be engaged in the course as well.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question that wasn't on our sheet here, but then do you also make some of those same tools and technologies then available to your students so that they can also work independently? So let's say if they wanted to be able to collaborate in the Wimba classroom, they could just simply go into the classroom and they've got access then to the instructor's tools so that they can develop presentations or just simply interact as part of those groups?
They do have access to some of those tools. What I have found is that if I haven't modeled that in class and we haven't used them as a group in class, then they typically won't use those other ways of communicating with one another independently outside of what we do in our classroom. But that's something that I'd like to work on, is how I can engage them more in using those tools. When they first use a tool like the wiki tool, and that's something they're not familiar with, there are some students that they're a little nervous about that. But then once they know that they can figure it out and know how to do it, then I think that they're more apt to use those tools independently. So I think that it's exposure to those in the class that then will lead them to using them on their own.
So how do your students respond then to the use of the technology? I mean, obviously these students have grown up with a lot of technology, so they're accustomed to using cell phones, tablets, as well as laptop computers. So are they eager participants? Do you see their use of technology then evolve over the course of a class? Does it improve their communication at all? And has it increased test scores and grades as well?
I have the pleasure of working with students through my program in several different courses, and you can definitely tell a change in their level of comfort and confidence in using technology if it's their first course as opposed to their third or fourth course. Typically, I tell students that once you've been through the learning to navigate Blackboard and do some of those things technology-wise that you don't typically do in a face-to-face course, that you then will become comfortable with that, and as you progress through the program and the courses, it will become second nature to you. And I have I've had students who have been say, oh, I just really like that face-to-face contact, so it might be difficult for me to take this online course. And by the end, they absolutely love it because they find out that they actually participate more in discussions and are able to learn more from their peers because of the way we structure things with the discussion board. And I think they really grow to really like the online course environment. I haven't had anybody say that after they took a whole course, say that it just really wasn't for them, or that
they'll never take another online class.
Right.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your doctoral work as well as your research interests?
Sure. My doctoral work was I worked with students, high school students with cognitive impairments, to teach them a self-advocacy strategy. And what was unique about this was that the self-advocacy strategy that I used was, in fact, one of my colleagues here in the College of Education had developed a computer-based interactive hypermedia version of the strategy. And so what I wanted to do, students with cognitive impairments had never been taught the strategy before. And it's well documented in the research and studies that students with cognitive impairments can learn via computer instruction, but it's typically skills like sight words, word recognition, phonemic awareness, drill and practice kinds of skills. And so what I wanted to find out was if the students, through the use of computer instruction-based program, if they could learn a complex chained skill such as self-advocacy and a self-advocacy strategy. And because the research is really lacking in this area of using computer instruction to teach students with cognitive impairments these complex skills. And what I found was that they loved the computer-aided instruction. I think it really helped them to learn the strategy, and they did. They were able to learn the self-advocacy strategy.
And do you see yourself continuing then with your research and doing anything more with that then in the future?
I do. I would really like to see if if they could use these if we could develop a program so that we could teach them to use those skills outside of the classroom in the community setting or in a job setting. And also there are other more complex strategies that are being taught to students through computer-based instruction that I would really like to, but haven't been tested with students with cognitive impairments. And so I would like to see if there would be more skills and strategies that we could teach students in that way. I'm also very interested in, because I teach students at distant sites, I'm also very interested in exploring the idea of video conferencing as a means of mentoring teachers and connecting them with one another, and then also as a means of providing supervision for our graduate practicum experiences.
So how important then is technology to the future of education? There are still large number of doubters out there, both in education and outside of it, that believe it really doesn't have an impact or make a difference on students?
Well, to me, and I think it's very, very important. I think that I've talked to some administrators out there that say that that they love getting the students from Grand Valley, that they're looking for students that have technological skills when they're doing interviews for teaching positions. And in the area of special education, it's invaluable. Technology is invaluable because it has allowed students to access the general curriculum who haven't been able to do so in the past. It has provided a way of communication for many students and has allowed many students to become much more independent than they had been. So I think it just it's very valuable. One thing I would like to say, though, is I think that one of the reasons that doubting might be out there is because we want to be mindful about the technologies that we use. And in my courses, if the technology isn't going to benefit my students in some way educationally, then I don't use it just for the sake of using it. And I think that's an important piece to remember and to think about as we're developing courses and as we're modeling these for our students and for future educators.
So what do you enjoy then most about using technology?
I think it's been really fun for me to learn some of the tools that I can use to personalize my course and develop that instructor presence online and build community with my students. And that's what have been finding the most valuable. I wouldn't, before I took this job at Grand Valley, I would not have said that I was a technologically savvy person at all. But with all of the support that we have here and the resources and the people that we have to support us, it's just been a real pleasure to continue to develop those skills.
And so what are your technology plans then for the future? Would you like to take an existing technology maybe that you're currently using and take it to a new level, or possibly integrate something new that you've heard about or is hoping down the road? As far as what would you like to bring to your courses in the future?
Well, I think that I would like to continue to learn more about screencasting and Camtasia so that I can provide some additional tutorials for my students in classes. I would also like to explore the idea of using video more. I'm not the most comfortable person on video, but I think this is maybe a skill that I could develop a little more, and so I think I would like to do a little bit more with that. I also, again, would like to explore the idea of how I can get my students more comfortable with actually using some of those technologies that we talked about earlier on their own, and so sort of building that into my courses as well, not only using it as my means of delivering instruction to my students, but as a model for them how they might use it in their classrooms with their students.
So are there any other challenges then that you see lying ahead for yourself?
Oh, there are definitely challenges. The biggest one is keeping up with all of the technological advances and really taking the time to learn those, and then once learning those, seeing where they might fit into your courses and how they might benefit your students, and then once you've determined that they will, then going into your course and implementing those.
And so what advice then would you give to other university faculty who are interested in teaching in an online environment, or who have just started and are looking for just some tips or the tricks that they can then utilize and employ in their classes to better engage students and make it an overall better experience?
Well, I would say just do it, and we have wonderful resources and people here at Grand Valley that will help you every single step of the way. and that has been invaluable to me. I would also say that you can build community in online courses and have wonderful, close relationships with students in courses in an online environment. And it just takes a few little things that an instructor can do to make that happen. And so I would just say try it and seek out those resources and support that we have here at Grand Valley.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Grand Valley State University. Visit us at gvsu.edu.